Ryan Hastings with Hastings C-Bar-J Ranch in South Dakota. Ryan, tell us how things look out your window right now, please, and where are you at?
We're northwest of Britain, about 20 miles, and it's looking pretty white. Snow just started here a little bit.
Wind up too?
Not quite yet.
All right, I might
It's
get home.
supposed to be later afternoon, I think, is when that's supposed to happen.
I might get home today. I packed an overnight bag just in case. Just never know. So, all right, Ryan, tell us about our operation. You're not just a cattle guy. The reason I called you was because of Bison. Tell me more.
Like, what would you like to know? I guess
How'd you get started, and what was the decision to bring him on the ranch?
well, my grandpa started with them in 1982. He had a heart attack, and he said something about back then that he, only one serving of red meat a week, I think, or something. He said,
Mm-hmm.
and he said he wasn't going to live on fish and chicken, so he started a little buffalo herd back then.
I think I like your
And we
grandpa a
had
lot.
beef at the time. Yeah, we had beef at the time too, but we got out of that about in 2014, I guess, and went just strictly feeding buffalo.
That's fantastic. Okay, so tell me, does the name the C-Bar-J, does that stem from when you had cattle as well, or how did you get to keep the name, or what did you do there?
Oh, yep, that stems from the cattle. Yeah, it was my grandpa's brand. He was a Searle Junior, so that's what his brand stood for.
Nice. Do you still use that brand on the buffalo? Do you actually brand them?
Nope, nope,
Okay.
nope. We don't.
As a cattle kid, I'm not very familiar with the practices here. So, okay, what's you got a buffalo, you got cows and bulls. How long does it take for him to calve out? How big are the calves? What time of the year do you calve? Give me the whole operation layout.
Oh, they calf usually starting in April. They kind of rut like a deer, kind of, but it's in July and August.
Okay.
So most of the time you don't have many fall animals or anything, but every once in a while you will. Um, Calves are only about 40 pounds when they're born,
Only 40 pounds.
and only 40 pounds. Yep,
All right.
kind of weird thinking of big buffalo, but it's they're only 40 pounds.
Right, and how big is an adult buffalo?
Oh, adult cow, a good one, a good heavy one would be 1,100 to 1,200 pounds. A bull you can get close to a ton, a little better.
Mm-hmm.
Big animal. So how does that differ with the bison and and raising them versus cattle? What's the difference? Is there any similarities, and is one more difficult than the other?
I'd say they both have their challenges. Like the like a beef, you want to get one in to vaccinate it or something. If it's showing signs of sickness, it's pretty easy to do. But the buffalo, when you try to get one, you'll never get one. They stick together like glue almost. If you try to take one in a pen, they all gotta go at one time. And but a buffalo really doesn't get. There really is no sickness too much in them. If they are normally, if they show signs of being sick, that's too late. They're
Okay.
not. They're not going to respond to anything.
Hmm.
Do you vaccinate?
Like last year. What's that?
Do you vaccinate like when you vaccinate calves?
We usually vaccinate everything before they go in the feedlot.
Okay.
So we'll give them a couple shots. A mycoplasma is the big one. Um, we'll give them a 7-way, and we usually worm them then too with an injectable.
Okay.
I was going to ask because we've heard the stories of some people trying to separate babies from mama with cattle, and it seems like sometimes the beef cattle can be a little aggressive sometimes. The dairy cattle usually, for the most part, are pretty docile and they don't really care outside of course, your exceptions. But what does that look like with the bison? Are they kind of more of an aggressive animal and, not like you walk in the field, they try and take you out, but, are they a little bit more aggravated than your typical cow?
Well, I don't know if I'd say that. I mean, they're pretty protective. Like, if you go out in the pen, even with the tractor to feed, especially when they're young, they'll kind of steer their calf off away from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're weaning, I guess I'd say it goes a little bit better than cattle. I don't know if they forget sooner, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not a lot of pacing the fence or anything like that.
Do you think your rate of gain is faster than what you get with beef? Because I think about a 40-pound calf out of a buffalo, and I would think that's got to move along pretty quickly to get full size. Or would I be wrong?
Yeah. No, it's you'll wean about a 400-pound calf in the fall,
Okay.
like or by maybe midwinter, December, January,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll take after they're in the feedlot, like we just shipped a load out now. So they've been at the feedlot for 11 months,
Okay.
and the last load will hopefully go in July. So it's what's that, 11 to 16, 17 months it'll take to finish a buffalo from 400 pounds.
Maybe I should
A
ask
full
if I'm
a finished buffalo, like a buffalo bull, only eats 35 pounds of feed a day.
only 35 pounds. I'm really
That's it?
surprised at
Yep.
that. And I should ask, should I call him a buffalo or a bison? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter, I guess. I just always called them buffalo, so it's kind of hard to break that.
I'm just using my NDSU horns up for those who are watching on video today.
Oh, I am on video. I didn't know. Maybe I should have cleaned up a little bit.
looks like a regular day. Like you said, you just came in from loading a semi, so I think you're in good shape.
Yep. Yeah, we just got a small load of calves in and shipped a load of fats out, and hopefully he can beat the storm they all go to Brush, Colorado to get butchered, so hopefully he beats the storm there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering, we've had a few other guests on in the past that do a lot with beef and dairy when it comes to calving. Do you use any, maybe I should just say, do you use drones at all for trying to kind of navigate where these animals are? Do they go over a large distance, or do they stay pretty close to the farm?
Mine, I guess the cows that I have, I don't have a very big herd right now. They are a little over half a mile south of the farm, so I can drive down the road and see them. As I grow the herd, it's going to be up in well, there's no roads, so I have yet to figure out how I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on them. The other ones I can drive by every day and see they're in. The other ones are going to be unless you're up there, you're not going to know if they're running the country or what. So a drone might be something that I would look into to kind of just keep an eye on them.
Oh, absolutely. Actively watching them. So I had an intern way back when whose family also raised some bison up by Carrington, North Dakota. And when they did that, they used like railroad ties and sucker bars, heavy iron bars to build fence, because bison will just push through a regular fence. Would you agree with that, or are you using regular fencing for your bison?
In the feedlot, we actually use highway guardrail for the pasture and stuff. If they're not pushed, generally, like in the pasture, if they've got food and water, they're pretty content, so that's
Sure.
fine for that. But no, the feedlot's got highway guardrail.
So my father-in-law tells the story that back in the 80s, they had a local rancher who also had bison, and occasionally someone would get out. And the neighbor would call and ask everybody to saddle up their horses to go bring those buffalo back. The only problem was the buffalo can run for days, and your horses would just go down first. They'd get completely wore out. I'm not sure you're using horses to keep yours in, maybe more like four-wheelers, or do you have any trouble like that as well, that they'll just go forever?
Oh, they'll run, yeah, they'll go. And we haven't had too many. We had the feedlot break out once, a pen. And actually, they went 7 miles in the dark. Yeah, but we chased them home on the road. And really, they do kind of respect the fences, kind of. Like I know there's another guy that we buy calves from. When he moves his down the highway, they just put one barbed wire across the field approaches.
Okay.
And they won't go through it.
Oh.
It's like they have to think a little bit before they do something.
Mm-hmm.
We're nothing against the beef cow, but they'd blow through that so fast and be in the next county that,
Okay.
you know, you never.
What we've
But no,
realized
they
here,
can run. They can.
beef cows are disrespectful. Bison will pay more attention. Got it. I'm writing
They
that
kind of
down.
do. Yep.
That's a perfect description.
We had a question roll in here via email, and our listener was wondering, are cuts of bison meat similar to how they are for different cuts of cow, or are there different types of grades when it comes to buffalo or bison meat?
The cuts are pretty well the same. The buffalo doesn't marble quite the same, so I don't. As far as grades, there's not really a grade. But you know, you've still got the ribeyes, everything that the beef has.
Mm-hmm.
That's supposed to be
So
healthier.
what would you say is better, beef or buffalo?
I'm gonna say buffalo, and I never thought we still had beef cows, and we butchered a heifer one time because somebody wanted a half, and we kept a half. And I'm sure I'll get all kinds of hate mail for this, but going from buffalo to the beef, when you chewed like a hamburger, you could feel the fat in the burger when you chewed it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus a buffalo doesn't have that.
They're so lean.
Yeah, they're, you know, and you can. A lot of people say you can't cook a buffalo anything very well, but I'm not a very good cook. And I mean, I can grill my steaks to a medium well, and they're still pretty juicy.
So when you asking that question, I've had this listener comment come in. Do you sell buffalo directly? I know you mentioned you sent a load down to Colorado, but do you also process locally and sell local meat?
Yep, we do. We've got a couple different places that we go. Like one is in Enderlin there. Actually, we had an appointment there tomorrow, but we were canceling that because I don't think we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't sell a lot. I'd say 7-8 a year is all we probably do.
And comparative to beef and bison, where does that sit price-wise? What's more expensive between the two, going out and buying bison burger or meat, or regular beef?
Well, the buffalo.
Or is it kind of similar?
I mean, you've got some places that kind of gouge, I would say, the price just because it's buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just charge whatever the hanging weight is at the plant that we send our buffalo to, and it's nothing. We don't go out over and above what we would get normally, I guess. But like a pound of buffalo burger is about $8 to $8.50, I guess.
Okay.
And I guess I'm not even sure what a pound of beef is.
Depends on your cut.
Well, today's world, it's probably.
I know I've walked into a couple local stores that they had buffalo burger from the same place we send ours, and they had $15 to $16 on the pound of burger, which is plenty high.
That does sound pretty high.
Yeah, it does.
That's almost a little outside of what someone's probably willing to spend.
I would say yes. I don't know how they could sell it for that price. But.
Sure. So do you think when your meat's processed out in Colorado, does a lot of that go to restaurants or mostly into like a grocery store market? Do you know?
I'd say 95% of it goes to restaurants.
Okay.
Most of that never gets froze.
Okay, gotcha. It all goes out fresh.
It all goes out fresh, yep. Yeah, so COVID really hurt that market pretty bad.
Rebounding?
No, it's steady.
Okay.
So, but unfortunately, it takes you, almost like the calves are buying now are coming in, and they won't go out until next year. So you've already bought and paid for the calves long before you're getting a check to, most beef guys will feedlot. You sell a pen, and you take that money and buy another pen.
Right.
Well, that doesn't work so much with the buffalo. So.
Mm-hmm.
the bank gets a little nervous every now and then with that much money out.
I bet they do.
Yeah. So far it's worked.
You know, I was wondering how are the buffalo, how do they handle the weather up here? Obviously they've been here for many years, but in the excessive heat waves that we've seen in the last recent years and the big fiasco down in the central US where they were worried about all the cows dying off from, you know, the high humidity and the heat being near 100 degrees for 10 days. How do they translate into that? How well do they handle that kind of change in temperatures and weather?
Oh, it's way better. I'd say we've never really lost one due to heat, and I can say in weather like this, I would much rather have a feedlot full of buffalo than beef.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the cows
So when it
right now,
comes to
they're standing with their head and face into the wind right now, and they're just standing there.
And they're fine with it.
Yep, they're fine with it.
Okay.
So they handle the heat pretty well then too, you mentioned?
Yep, yeah, they do. I mean, we don't really lose that many a year, but I can say I don't, nothing indirect. I mean, they maybe would have had a little touch of pneumonia or something, maybe, and then the heat got them, but nothing. I mean, we've never had a big catastrophe, I guess, because of heat.
I see. And how about with like the winter storms during calving season, early April, mid-April, you get that crazy blizzard that drops 1 to 2 feet of snow, and something similar to what's coming through over the next couple of days, but a few months from now. How do the calves handle that? Is it just as big of an issue for the buffalo as it is for cattle and lambs and so on?
No, I don't. I guess fortunately we've never really had any like that. But I know one year they were out in a bigger pasture when they were calving, and I was trying to put some hay down for them to bed, and all they did was walk to the other end of the pasture, so that didn't do good. But I never lost any, I guess. They're just they're like Velcro almost. I mean, that calf is right alongside that mom.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys around here know that I'm someday going to have a T-shirt that says Yellowstone is not a documentary. And one of the storylines currently has been that a beef herd contracted brucellosis from bison in a national park. Is it possible? Is that realistic? That could actually happen? And what's the likelihood that you'd ever see something like that cross-contract with your herds?
Yeah, it can. But like mostly around here, everybody's vaccinated for it.
Okay.
I mean, if you and a buffalo heifer to be sold has to be vaccinated for it.
Oh, sure.
You cannot. Yeah, if it's over 3 years old. Now I could keep one and do it, but I could not legally sell one that's not.
Okay.
And they have to be done before a certain age. I believe they have to be done by the time I think it might be 3 years, maybe 2.
See, we're all about.
But yeah, it could happen. I know there's a herd out west that had it pretty bad. I mean, this was years ago, but they lost quite a few.
We are all about the facts, folks, and Ryan's happy to deliver that for us. So as we wind down this chance to visit with Ryan Hastings of Bridgette Ranch near Britton, South Dakota, Ryan, if folks would like to follow you along, I know you through social media. Is that something you want folks to do, or where could they find your meat, like you said, in Enderlin? Are there other locations? Anything you want to share with folks about finding you?
The only thing about is the Twitter at Bridgette Ranch. I think that's it, isn't it?
I think that's your handle, yeah.
Yeah, that's Bridgette Ranch. I didn't know if I had Hastings in there or not, but yeah, no, Enderlin doesn't sell any of the meat. that's just where we have it processed at.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it's kind of we've had a few people from Fargo, so that they don't have to travel so far to get it and stuff like that. And if there's somewhere else that they'd want it to go that isn't a terrible far away, we'd accommodate that.
That'd be awesome. Well, we appreciate your time very much today. Thank you.